Thank you very much, Ken Warkentin, down here in the winner's circle with trainer Nancy Takter for tonight's edition of Q&A. Nancy, we've got some questions from our online fans as well as some live on-track questions for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Alrighty, well, first things first, someone asked, of course, leading into tomorrow night, Meadowlands Pace Final, you have Market Base. How has Market Base been training this week, and how do you feel going into tomorrow night?
He's doing really well. I'm actually really happy with how he came out of the race. He had 3 days off after the race, just kind of bounced back from, his big mile on Saturday night. It's going to be his third week in a row racing, so he just had a very light training schedule this week, and super happy with how he's coming in. He actually feels like a little sharper than he did last week.
Next, we have two here live on-track questions. First of those right now with Gary DeLeo.
Okay, guys, I'm here with fan Jim from Hopakon. Jim, what do you have to say to Nancy?
Hi, Nancy. First, I want to know, who is the greatest horse that you've ever trained?
That's a hard question. Well, I guess Tall Dark Stranger is a very easy answer to that question. I think Kissing in the Sand, she was just an unbelievable mare. She accomplished a lot of, she went a lot of tough trips from tough post positions, and she was just gritty, and she's probably my favorite, but I think Tall Dark Stranger is probably the best one.
Well, that was my second question. Who's your favorite horse that you've ever trained?
Yeah, Kissing in the Sand is probably my favorite. I actually took care of her myself when she was 3, and then my barn grew a little bit too much, so I didn't really have the time to take care of her when she was racing as an age mare. But she was just a really nice filly to be around, and she's definitely got a special place in my heart.
All right, Nancy, back to the internet questions. Obviously, many of our fans know that your dad, of course, a great trainer in his own right. So the most important thing that you learned from your dad related to training?
I think the most important thing that my dad's taught me is, work ethic. He has an unbelievable work ethic. I don't think there are many people in the world that have the work ethic that he does. There are days, when I was working for him back in the day where I was like, how is he not tired? Because you'd be the first one in the barn in the morning and just work all day. So I think work ethic is probably the best thing that he's installed into me. And then also, when you have a horse that races well, even though maybe they win their elimination, going into a final or whatever, you can't be afraid to make changes because good could always be better.
Another question about your dad, Nancy. Obviously, sometimes him driving was part of the success of the Takters. Can we see you in the bike anytime soon?
Yeah, I don't think so. I have driven a few qualifiers. I'm very active. I do train all my horses. I race bike them and train all the babies and everything. I just think that when it comes down to actual races, I'm fortunate enough where I can get Yannick Gingras or Dexter Dunn or Andrew McCarthy or, any one of the top drivers to drive my horses. So really, there's no reason for me to be out there. There's way too much money invested in there, and I'm just too hard on myself anyway, so it probably wouldn't work out well.
And then we go back to Gary DeLeo, our second on-track question.
Okay, I have Jim here from Sea Caucus. Nancy, he has a different general question for you. I think you'll have a strong opinion on this question.
Hi, Nancy. First of all, you're a great trainer.
Thank you.
And my question would be, not only I, but a lot of other people are wondering, who instituted the rule that the drivers can no longer whip the horses?
I can't hear you.
It seems to take the flavor away from horse racing, to me.
The question was, who instituted the rule about whipping and how you think it's affected the racing?
Well, that's the Racing Commission's job to make the rules. Their job is to ensure that the horses and participants in the sport are safe and, everybody's cared for. I don't really think that the whipping rule, I don't think whipping is going to make any horse run faster or not run faster. Obviously there are horses that need a little bit of encouragement, but I think there's also a big misconception that, the horses are actually getting hit. A lot of times, the race bike's actually getting hit, and it's more of the sound of that startling the horse. So, like I said, it's the Racing Commission's job. That's what they do, and we just kind of follow their rules to the best we can.
All right, Nancy, last question for you, a little bit of a different type of question. What is your happy place away from the tracker barn?
Well, it depends on the time of the year. In the winter, it's definitely to go to South Florida and get away from the cold weather because I train up in New Jersey. My parents retired to Florida, and I have a condo down there, so I like to escape the cold, whenever weekends I can, because obviously it's very tedious and cold work during the winter. So I would say that South Florida is probably my happy place.
All right, well, we thank Nancy Takter for joining us for this week's Q&A here. We'll be back tomorrow night with trainer Tim Twaddle after race 1. But for now, we go to a replay last week, last Friday. It was mic'd up with Corey Callahan with race 9 last week. And then it is Dave Brower and Gabe Pruitt on the other side to talk tonight's featured action.